The five-bedroom colonial on Willow Creek Lane was more than a house. It was the meticulously crafted container for my life's greatest treasures. For 8 years, it had been the stage for my happiness. I, David Lawson, had married Chloe Bennett, believing she was my other half, my anchor in a chaotic world. We were a partnership, a team. We built our life in this very suburb, a place of manicured lawns and silent, star-filled nights that felt like a protective dome over our existence. Our joy was our children. Ethan, our serious, bright-eyed firstborn, now 7. And then the twins, Ava and Liam, a whirlwind of identical giggles and mischief, now 4. Our days were a symphony of domestic chaos I cherished. The smell of Chloe's perfume mixing with the scent of baking cookies, the thunder of small feet on the hardwood floors, the soft, contented sighs after a long day when we'd collapse on the couch, her head on my shoulder, and just be. I was a man who valued order, respect, and above all, loyalty. Chloe knew this. It was one of the things she said she loved about me. "You're my rock, David," she'd whisper in the dark. "With you, I always know where I stand." I took that responsibility seriously. I provided, I protected, I cherished. I never imagined the rock could be so easily eroded by a single secret decision. The unraveling began not with a shout, but with a sentence so casual, it was chilling. It was a Tuesday. I remember because the garbage cans were still at the curb. A late-night political comedy show was on, its glow flickering across the room. Chloe was scrolling on her tablet, a faint frown of concentration on her face. We were physically together on the same sectional, but miles apart in our own worlds. A common, comfortable silence, or so I thought. She put the tablet down and sighed. A sound that carried a weight I didn't yet understand. "David, there's something I've decided to do." That particular phrasing, "I've decided," sent a jolt of cold awareness through me. Chloe only used that prefix when a discussion was a formality, not a negotiation. My internal alarms, finely tuned to the rhythms of my wife, began a low, steady hum. I muted the TV. The sudden silence felt oppressive. "You look serious. What's going on?" She tucked a strand of her dark, sleek hair behind her ear, a nervous gesture she'd had since we were dating. "It's about Rachel." Rachel was her identical twin sister. She and Mark, they got the final results from the fertility clinic. There's no chance. Her uterus, it's just not viable. They've exhausted every option. My heart softened momentarily. God, that's awful. Poor Rach. "We should have them over for dinner this weekend. Let them know we're here for them." "That's just it," she said, her voice gaining steely resolve. "I am going to be here for them. I'm going to be their surrogate." I blinked. The words seemed to hang in the air, nonsensical. "You're going to be... what?" "Chloe, what are you talking about?" Her gaze was steady, unwavering. "The doctor said a surrogate is their only option, and because Rachel and I are genetically identical, I'm the perfect candidate. There's no better match on earth. I've already spoken with their doctor and the clinic. The initial consultations are scheduled." The air left my lungs. The casual, matter-of-fact delivery was a physical blow. "You've already spoken to them? When? How long have you been planning this?" "A few weeks," she admitted, a flicker of defensiveness in her eyes. "I knew you'd react this way. I knew you'd freak out and try to stop me. This is something I have to do, David. She's my sister. I can't watch her drown in this grief." "React what way?" I said, my voice rising despite my effort to control it. "You are telling me you're going to carry Mark's child? You've decided, without a single conversation with your husband, to undergo a massive physical and emotional journey that will affect every aspect of our lives, our marriage, our children for a year? And you've already started?" "It's not Mark's child like that," she stamped, her own temper flaring. "It's their embryo. Genetically, it's Rachel and Mark's. I'm just the oven. And yes, I've decided. It's my body. This is happening with or without your permission. I'd hoped you'd support me." "Permission?" The word was ash in my mouth. "This isn't about permission, Chloe. This is about partnership, respect. You don't ask for permission to get a haircut. You discuss, as partners, a decision that will see you pregnant, hormonal, unable to care for our 3 young children for stretches of time. A decision that involves another family intimately inserted into our lives. You've already discussed this extensively with Mark, I assume, but not with me? Her jaw tightened. Yes, Mark and I have talked. He's the father. He needed to be part of the discussion. A white-hot coil of betrayal twisted in my gut. And I'm your husband, or does that title not come with the right to be consulted before my life is turned upside down? If you really loved me, you'd respect my decision to help my family, she said, her voice trembling with a righteousness that made me nauseous. An icy calm descended over me, more terrifying than my rage. Respect is a two-way street, Chloe. You've shown me none. If you go through with this, you are making a conscious choice to prioritize your sister's desire for a child over the health and sanctity of our marriage. Do you understand that? She stood up, her fists clenched at her sides. Stop being so dramatic. It's 9 months, then I hand the baby over and life goes back to normal. You're acting like I'm having an affair. Aren't you? I shot back, the words escaping before I could cage them. An emotional affair with your sister's tragedy? You're so entangled in her pain that you're willing to set our life on fire to keep her warm. Her face paled with fury. That is a vile thing to say. Maybe I overestimated the kind of man you are. Maybe I thought you were more compassionate. Overestimated me? The words felt like a shard of glass in my heart. If you do this, Chloe, it will break us. There will be no coming back from this. She looked down at me, her expression a mixture of pity and resolve. Then maybe we're not as strong as I thought we were. She walked out of the room, leaving me sitting in the flickering silence, the foundation of my world crumbling to dust around me. The house, once my sanctuary, now felt like a gilded cage. The following days were a masterclass in passive aggression. Chloe began openly discussing hormone regimens, implantation schedules, and doctor's appointments as if we were planning a vacation. I came home from work 2 days later to find a box from a specialty pharmacy on the kitchen counter. Vials of medication, syringes, and alcohol wipes were laid out next to a stack of consent forms. "What is all this?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. "The medication protocol," she said without looking up from the pamphlet she was reading. "I start the injections tomorrow to synchronize my cycle." "You're just proceeding. No discussion. You're really doing this." She finally looked at me, her eyes hard. "We're past discussions, David. I'm moving forward." "You are single-handedly destroying our marriage," I said, each word measured and cold. "Do you see that? Do you care that you're pushing me away?" She rolled her eyes, a gesture so dismissive it felt like a slap. "Stop being so melodramatic. It's about helping my sister, not about you. Your pride is just hurt because you weren't the one making the decision. This is not about pride," I roared, finally losing control. "It has everything to do with trust. You lied to me. You went behind my back. You've made a unilateral decision that affects me, our children, our finances, our future. You have treated me with utter contempt." She picked up the papers again, a clear dismissal. "We're done here, David." That was the moment any hope I had left shriveled and died. I saw my future clearly, watching her belly swell with another man's child, forced to play the supportive husband in a farce I never agreed to. The humiliation was a living thing, crawling under my skin. That night, lying awake in the dark, I made a silent vow. If she was choosing to walk this path alone, then she would walk it utterly alone. I would not be her partner in this. I would not be her support system. I would become a wall of ice, reflecting back the utter lack of consideration she had shown me. My revenge would not be loud or violent. It would be a profound, calculated, and legal withdrawal of everything I had ever provided. The next morning, I contacted a divorce lawyer. When she found out, her fury was spectacular. She stormed into the playroom where I was building Legos with Ethan. "How dare you?" she hissed, her voice a venomous whisper so the kids wouldn't hear. I calmly told Ethan to go find his sisters and guided Chloe into the hallway. "You were serious," she seethed. "You're actually filing for divorce over this?" "I told you the consequences. You chose to ignore them. You don't get to be shocked now." "We can fix this," she pleaded, though her eyes still burned with anger. "You just need to accept that I'm doing this, then we can move on." I held up a hand. "There is no moving on. You broke us. This is just the paperwork." Under the laws of our state, we were required to endure a 1-year separation before the divorce could be finalized. Chloe refused to move out, citing the need for a stability for the kids and later her need for bed rest. I didn't want to uproot my children, so I agreed to a miserable cohabitation. I moved into the guest room. We became ghosts in our own home, passing in the hallways with silent nods, the air thick with resentment. The pregnancy took hold. Her belly began to swell. Her family, the Bennetts, became permanent fixtures in my house, treating it as an extension of their own. Her father, a large, blustering man named Robert, would clap me on the shoulder too hard and say, "Standing by your woman, son, that's what real men do." His condescension was a constant irritant. The most egregious violation came one Saturday afternoon. I returned from grocery shopping to find Mark, Rachel, and Chloe in a living room surrounded by catalogs for cribs, strollers, and baby clothes. My living room. "David," Mark said, standing up awkwardly from my armchair. "Hey, we were just, planning, for the baby. We thought it'd be good to have some stuff here for Chloe." I didn't even look at him. I kept my eyes locked on Chloe. "Why would you need baby supplies here? The baby will be living with its parents, won't it?" Chloe's cheeks flushed. "Don't be difficult, David. I might need things here for comfort. This is still my home." "It is," I agreed coldly, "but it is not their showroom. I will not have them treating my house like a satellite nursery for a child that has nothing to do with me." Rachel stood up, her face, a mirror image of Chloe's, twisted in anger. "My God, David, have you no heart? We're family. This is what family does." "Family respects boundaries," I shot back. "You all lost the right to that claim when you conspired behind my back. If you're so concerned about Chloe's comfort, set up a nursery at your house, but you will not do it in mine." They left in a huff after that, but the battle lines were drawn. The months ground on. Chloe's pregnancy was difficult. She was nauseated, exhausted, and in constant discomfort. And she expected me to care. "David, could you rub my back?" she'd ask, wincing as she lowered herself onto the couch. "Ask Mark," I'd reply without looking up from my book. "David, I'm craving pickles. Could you run to the store? I'm sure Rachel would be happy to go." "What kind of heartless man are you? You can watch me suffer and do nothing?" "You are suffering for their child," I'd state calmly. "Let them alleviate the suffering. My concern is for our children." I pointed to Ethan, Ava, and Liam, who were watching these exchanges with wide, confused eyes. They are my priority. The emotional toll on the kids was the hardest part. Ethan especially became quiet and withdrawn. "Daddy," he asked one night at bedtime, "why is Mommy always crying? Why don't you love her anymore?" I pulled him close, my heart breaking. "I will always love your mom because she gave you and your sisters," I said, choosing my words with care. "But sometimes adults make choices that hurt each other, and it makes it very hard to be friends. But that has nothing to do with how much we love you." The climax of her physical ordeal came in the 8th month. It was in the middle of the night when I heard a thud and a low moan from the hallway. My door burst open without a knock. "David!" Chloe's voice was tight with pain. "My water broke. The contractions, they're right on top of each other. I need to get to the hospital, now." I sat up in bed. I could see her silhouetted in the doorway, one hand braced against the frame, the other cradling her enormous stomach. For a split second, the memory of her labor with the twins flashed before me. The fear, the intensity, my unwavering support. Then the ice returned. "Call Mark," I said, my voice devoid of all emotion. "It's his child. It's his responsibility." Her eyes widened in sheer disbelief. "I did. His phone is off. Rachel's is going to voicemail. Please, David, I'm scared." Another contraction ripped through her, and she cried out, doubling over. I simply watched. "Call an ambulance." "You can't be serious," she sobbed, tears and sweat streaming down her face. "After everything, you would just let me—" "I am absolutely serious," I said, lying back down and turning away from her. "Good luck." I listened as she fumbled her way down the hall, her cries of pain mingling with sobs of utter despair. 15 minutes later, the red and blue lights of an ambulance flashed through my window. I felt nothing but a cold, hard sense of justice. She was in the hospital for several days. The baby, a boy, was premature but healthy. Rachel, it turned out, had been hospitalized herself with a stress-induced complication, and Mark was scrambling between the two. I did not call. I did not visit. I took care of my children, went to work, and maintained the house with a quiet, grim efficiency. When she returned home, pale and exhausted, she was carrying the infant in a car seat. "Rachel is still too weak," she said, her voice hollow. "Mark is overwhelmed. They asked me to keep him for a few weeks." I looked from her to the tiny sleeping form. "No." "What?" "That child is not staying in this house. You made a choice to have him for them. They can deal with the consequences. He is not my responsibility, and he will not disrupt my children's home any further." She looked at me as if I were a monster, and in that moment, I was. I was the monster her betrayal had created. "He's a newborn, David. He's helpless." "Your problem," I said, turning away, "not mine." She kept the baby in her room. The nights were filled with his cries. She became a shell, shuffling around with dark circles under her eyes, trying to manage a newborn while recovering from a traumatic birth, all without an ounce of help from me. Her parents came over, called me every name in the book, threatened me. I remained unmoved. "You're postpartum. She needs help," her father roared at me in my own kitchen. "She should have considered that before she made herself postpartum for another man," I replied coolly. "Let Mark help. Let you help. My obligation ended when her loyalty did." The divorce proceedings were my theater of vindication. My lawyer, a sharp, ruthless woman named Ms. Goodwin, was a maestro. She presented a devastating timeline: the secret planning, the forged signatures on financial documents to withdraw money for medical copays and procedures, the emails between Chloe, Rachel, and Mark discussing how to manage me. We highlighted my stable income, my role as primary caregiver during Chloe's pregnancy, and her current inability to provide a stable home environment due to the newborn that wasn't hers. Chloe's lawyer tried to paint me as a cruel, abandoning husband, but the facts were undeniable. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with a steely gaze, saw through the emotional pleas. She saw the forgery. She saw the deception. She saw the fundamental breach of marital trust. The ruling was a complete and total victory. The divorce was granted. I was awarded primary custody of Ethan, Ava, and Liam, with Chloe receiving visitation rights. Spousal support was denied due to her misuse of marital assets. She was ordered to reimburse me for half of the surrogacy-related expenses she had withdrawn. The court recognized zero parental rights or responsibilities for me regarding the newborn boy. As the judge read the verdict, Chloe broke down completely, her body shaking with silent sobs. Rachel looked stunned. Mark just stared at the floor, defeated. I felt a surge of something clean and sharp, not happiness, but closure, vindication. Outside the courtroom, Chloe approached me, her face ravaged by tears. "David, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I never meant for any of this. I just wanted to help her. I never thought I'd lose you." I looked at the woman I had once loved more than life itself. There was nothing left but a hollow echo. "You didn't just help her, Chloe. You became a martyr for her, and you sacrificed our family on the altar of her happiness. Some things can't be fixed." I turned and walked away. The hallway seemed brighter, the air easier to breathe. In the year that followed, the pieces of our shattered lives settled into a new fractured normal. I kept the house on Willow Creek Lane. The silence that returned was no longer oppressive but peaceful. My children flourished once the tension was gone. We established new routines filled with laughter and stability. Chloe moved in with her parents, struggling to find a job while battling postpartum depression that no one wanted to acknowledge was real, since the baby wasn't technically hers to be postpartum about. The irony was bitter. Rachel and Mark took their son, but the fairy tale ended there. The financial strain on the medical procedures, coupled with the cost of a new baby and Rachel's ongoing health issues, pushed them to the brink. They were in no position to help Chloe. I heard through the grapevine that they were drowning in debt and arguing constantly. The selfless act had brought them a child, but it had also brought them misery. Chloe's relationship with her sister became strained, fraught with unspoken resentment over the immense cost of her help. During custody exchanges, Chloe looked increasingly frail and lost. She'd look at me with a profound, aching regret, hoping for a sliver of the warmth we once shared. I offered none. My replies were polite, brief, and exclusively about the children's schedules or needs. One evening, tucking Ethan into bed, he looked at me with his serious eyes. "Dad, do you think Mom is happy now?" I smoothed his hair. "I think your mom made a very complicated choice that she thought would make her sister happy. Sometimes things that seem simple are very complicated. But our job is to love her and focus on our own happiness, right here." He nodded, seemingly satisfied with the answer. Children have a way of cutting through the complexity to the heart of the matter. People sometimes ask me if I have any regrets, if I think I was too harsh. They call me merciless. I've had family friends tell me I should have been the bigger person. But they didn't live it. They didn't feel the seismic shock of betrayal, the utter erosion of trust. My revenge was never about cruelty for its own sake. It was about accountability. It was about drawing a line in the sand and showing her, the court, and myself that there are consequences for actions that destroy the foundation of a partnership. I withdrew every ounce of support, financial, emotional, physical, that she had so recklessly taken for granted. I forced her to face the stark reality of the choice she made alone. The judge saw the truth of it. The law saw the truth of it. Chloe dealt the first fatal blow to our marriage. I simply refused to stand there and bleed. I walked away, secured the future of my children, and left her to the bed she had so meticulously made. If that is cruelty, then it is the price of my dignity, and it was a price I paid without a single regret.